Okay guys, this video one I want watch right now, so now all about Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi live in Chatham House, London. Guys, I beg make una help me like, share this video. This one not be APC presidential candidate, the Baba Blue Master, when he go Chatham House, go disgrace himself, disgrace all APC members. Guys, make una come see the real man when he fit to rule Nigeria as a country. Make una come see the real man when be like say man, he fit to carry Nigerians along. Guys, I watch this video, I get hope say man, better Nigeria is coming. But for this man to carry Nigerians along, not being go do am, now your PVC, now you go do am. Nigerians, now understand, I beg, make una go collect una PVC. Why I go leave una, make una watch this full video. Meanwhile, while watching, I beg make una like and share, make it go viral. You understand? I love you all guys. So I go leave una here right now. I go see you now for the next update coming out soon. Respect, one love.
Show for it. Some awards for outstanding accomplishments in key Millennium Development Goals, non-sustainable development goals. It is the same counsel and principle that is guiding and motivating me to offer to serve in a new Nigeria. The answer lies in leadership, institution, and demographics. The good news is that the demography is driving the change we're seeing in Africa. With election after election last year in Africa, in which establishment parties are being upturned by new and small parties. It is the change that my vision of policy change and institutional development is rooted in a push for a broadened scope of social mobility and freedom for Nigeria, particularly for the youth and women. Like the former British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan said, at the start of the independence decade, a wind of change is blowing across Africa. Today, that new wind of change sees the ballot box as being instrumental to changing of bad leadership. Senator Yusuf Dat Ahmed, my running mate, and I are committed to new politics that start with ethics of servant leaders and anchored on marriage of clean hearts and skillful hands. We know that unless we change the politics by changing the political leadership, we are stuck in this terrible state of underdevelopment and misery. We will build patriotically our institutions, particularly the ones directly responsible for implementing government policies, to make them fit for purpose. It is not to be doubted at the global scene that Nigeria is blessed with some of the most entrepreneurial youths in the world, in science, in business, in art and entertainment. We believe that what remains is the changing of leadership class from predators to creators of value, from those whose wealth and power drive from the institution of the nation and its people to those who have demonstrated competence, character, capacity to invest in human development, create prosperity, and instill right values and ethical conduct deserving of servant leaders. Nigeria today is at a critical juncture, and the people led by the youths, brutalized by bad leadership, are awake and leading the movement to transform Nigerian politics and restart the engine of economic growth and social stability. We count ourselves honored to be trusted, especially by the youth, to lead this democratic revolution, and we are deeply pledged to do so with sincerity, accountability, and unquenchable love and desire for a better Nigeria. We are simply the symbol of Nigerian youth struggle to reverse this ugly trend that keeps driving them into social anomia, despair, and rejection of their country. We are determined to do everything that needs to be done to rescue and lead our country to prosperity, freedom, security, and peace. We will use merit to assemble competent Nigerians from all sections of Nigeria to form effective government of national unity. At the heart of my goal here today is to look at our Labour Party's key policy plans and how they will drive up the quality of life of average Nigerian, dramatically reduce poverty, and return Nigeria to a place of strategic relevance in a world that needs a thriving and well-governed Nigeria, stabilizing the continent of Africa, making it high-value add for a planet imperiled by environmental challenges, terrorism, and inequity. I also plan to speak on institutions and how the leadership we offer can facilitate the evolution of stronger institutions with the rule of law a key anchor to nation building in Nigeria. I have no doubt that the policy choice we favor and the strong institutions Labour Party will facilitate will move Nigeria from a country of rent seekers sharing oil receipts and consuming conspicuously to the one that produces based on vast factor endowments whose value chains can move us towards a high employment economy. We will turn our youth budge to a democratic dividend rather than today's harvest of time bomb of violence, insecurity from uneducated, unemployed, and marginalized youth. This forms the first and most important thrust of our government priorities, without which the rest will not be achieved, to secure Nigeria, end banditry and insurgents, and unite our dear nation to manage our diversity so that no one is left behind. The growing insecurity you see in Nigeria today is not because the enemy is formidable. It is not a lack of focused leadership, ineffective security government structure, and poor coordination from the center. All this needs to be addressed by first projecting strong leadership, signal that will allow both state and non-state actors to be mobilized around single vision. Then, by pursuing a robust reform of the security governance structure, coordinating mechanism that assures all levels of government, federal, state, local, with three-level policing are aligned with strong collaboration with partners from both private and development groups to provide required services and deliver results for every Nigerian. Once this is done, it is important to have a single, clear, coherent, consistent development process. It is important for institutions to be able to provide strong leadership, coordination, capability, partner and engage collaboratively with all relevant stakeholders in an environment that mutually reinforces values. The second plank of our policy thrust is to shift emphasis from consumption to production by running a production-centered economy that is driven by agrarian revolution and export-oriented industrialization. With about 70 million hectares of arable land, we will pursue an agricultural revolution through proper segmentation of Nigerian to activate and harness factor endowment of different parts of the country for both rapid and mechanized agricultural development, and as a pillar for Nigerian other sectoral development and industrialization. We will incentivize and invest in an agro-cluster and industrial cluster development across our geo-resource zones to take advantage of agglomeration and scale effects, of particularly in the northwest, northeast, and north central regions of Nigeria. We will dredge both River Niger and River Benue, build dams massively to support planting of economic trees across the country for local usage, poverty and elimination, export and revenue generation. A key task is to sequentially but decisively dismantle the inefficient and anti-market distortionary structures restraining the Nigerian economy from creating a precondition for a dynamic pro-market economy. We will employ entrepreneurial governance to dismantle impediments to free trade and ease of doing business, and implementing radical economic policies that will drastically reduce our debt service, a major drain to government revenue as it is today. Our micro, small and medium scale enterprises will be robustly supported. Further borrowing must be strictly for productive purposes and not for consumption. While we aggressively pursue the activation of all opportunities in oil and gas value chain, we will target incentive schemes that will be professionally administered to diversify our non-oil export portfolio with proper consideration and management of climate change risk and opportunities. The third pillar of our government priorities is to restructure the polity through effective legal and institutional reforms to entrench rule of law, aggressively fight corruption, reduce the cost of governance, and establish honest and efficient civil service. Reducing costs of governance in Nigeria is an effective way of fighting institutional corruption. In addition to reducing the cost of governance and streamlining government operations for efficiency and effectiveness, we will ensure that reforms we pursue will not in any way affect the livelihood of our hardworking and efficient civil servants. Critical to fighting corruption, we will install a new budgeting system founded on the cardinal principle of public accountability, objective setting, and program implementation. This is against the extant budgetary principles of revenue mobilization, expenditure allocation, borrowing without emphasis on monitoring, evaluation, and feedback. We will enforce principles of performance auditing, institutionalized monitoring and evaluation process of the entire public service delivery as the primary means of actualizing our vision of the new Nigeria. This reform will institutionalize our personal involvement of both the president and the vice president in setting budgetary objectives of MDAs and monitoring, evaluating the implementation process through Office of Regulatory Review in the Office of the President. Budget monitoring and evaluation capacity will be strengthened within the presidency. We will embark on effective micro and fiscal restructuring to quickly restore fiscal viability by discontinuing unaffordable subsidies which have left a black hole in government finances. Fiscal and monetary policy will be properly coordinated with each conventional tool transparently instead of distorting markets in favor of privileged few. For instance, and avoidance of doubt. We will collaborate with Central Bank of Nigeria for a transparent liberalization of our foreign exchange market and dismantling of OPEC multiple exchange rates. Regime which effectively subsidizes few privileged persons. We will seek to boost the supply side rather than continue to concentrate exclusively on demand management of foreign exchange. When unaffordable subsidies are removed, some carefully calibrated transfers will be used to cushion adverse impact on economically weak. If the competitiveness of the sector is to be enhanced, then we will do so via enactment of transparent and specifically target fiscal and trade policies designed to stimulate investment and growth. Revenue shortfalls and leakages such as oil theft will be dealt with decisively by holding persons in position of authority fully accountable. The fourth plank of our governance priorities is to leapfrog into the fourth industrial revolution through application of scientific technological innovation to create digital economy. Building on the gains of agriculture-led manufacturing and export, we will pursue development of knowledge and skills to leverage on the emerging disruptive digital technologies, automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, virtual reality, blockchain technology, biotechnology, and data science, all of which are the heart of the fourth industrial revolution. The fifth plank of our government priorities is to build expansive infrastructure for efficient power supply, rail, road and air transportation, and pipeline network through integrated public-private partnership and entrepreneurial public sector governance. Our solution to the perennial power problem in Nigeria is comprehensive and is well covered in our manifesto. We will ensure that we deal with the issue of transmission distribution. However, we will immediately complete the 2.3 billion Nigeria Siemens network improvement deal to achieve a stable 7,000 by the end of this year, 11,000 megawatts by 2024, and 25,000 megawatts by 2025. We will support local manufacturing capacities and power technologies and encourage and expand local R&D in universities, training centers, and workshops, through which many jobs will be created. Our sixth priority program is to enhance human capital development of our youth for productivity and global competitiveness through investment in education, in research, quality health, and entrepreneurial education. The World Bank Human Capital Development Index ranks Nigeria 168/173. To move Nigeria right to the top bracket of the index, we will pursue a Marshall Plan type program on education that incorporates compulsory technical and vocational skills, sports, entrepreneurship, programming, digital skills from primary to secondary school level. In line with this commitment to transform our educational sector, we will prioritize funding of this critical sector. Our tertiary institution will be remodeled to serve as hubs and centers of research, development, and commercialization of ideas for quick industrialization of Nigeria. Finally, our seventh priority